Hello, guys. This is Johna Johnson. I'm the CEO and founder of Nemertes Research, and I am here to talk to you about the 8 pillars of digital transformation. But before I go ahead and get started, I just want to remind everybody, and I'm glancing over at my notes here. I just want to remind everybody that we have a couple of really cool webinars coming up. Mastering the Metaverse, a framework, which is next Wednesday, February 22nd at 11 a.m. Eastern. That'll be myself and an Nemertes Research Fellow, Mark Siebold. And want to improve cybersecurity? War Game. That's coming up Tuesday, March 22nd at 11 a.m. Eastern. The links to register are in the attachments section, so go ahead and click on those. And of course, please don't forget to check out So Long Sock Provider, with apologies to Leonard Cohen, which was recorded last week and is available now to watch in Nemertes Bright Talk channel. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Let's see. Before we go ahead and kick off on the 8 pillars of digital transformation, I think it makes sense to talk about what is digital transformation in the first place. And for many of you, as for me, there's probably a sense that it's a bunch of gobbledygook that senior executives seem to think is a strategic focus for our company. And in fact, that's actually entirely correct. So when I was putting together this webinar, I thought, there's always a great bunch of gobbledygook defining digital transformation and similar ideas that have gotten trendy. Let me go find it. And speaking of trendy, I did what everyone does today in these days, trying to answer a question, which is I asked ChatGPT, what is digital transformation? I'd like to share with you what it says. Here you go. I'm not going to read it all to you, but I was heartened by the fact that ChatGPT lived up entirely to my expectation, which was that it would create a wonderfully semantically correct definition that conveys almost zero information content. Essentially, if you boil the whole damn thing down to simple phrases, digital transformation is about applying technology to business to do new and better things. Well, geez, people, I thought that's what IT was for. And I'll hold that thought because I'm going to get back to it. But in any event, only ChatGPT can create I don't even know how many words that is, but it looks like about 200 to me, maybe 250 word definition that is semantically correct and uses all the right phrases and says absolutely nothing really meaningful. So there you go. So let me give you a slightly different way to view digital transformation. And before I share this next slide, I want to highlight that digital transformation is not about technology. And it's not about any one technology. It's not about AI. It's not about IoT. It's not about any of insert your favorite technology here. It's not about quantum computing or AR, VR or whatever. There are 8 core pillars to digital transformation that will help you shape which technologies you use, where you use them, what to invest, and what to expect as the return on investment. So, pretty major promise there. Let's get started. Here are the 8 pillars to digital transformation. I'll let you read them. We're going to go through each of these one by one, and I'm going to give you examples. And hopefully, you will be able to walk away from this with some practical, sensible things you can go do in your digital transformation initiative. But I want to weigh in on the thing that I said earlier, which is applying technology to do business better is actually what IT is all about, right, guys? And in fact, the only reason that digital transformation is separate and independent from IT is that business leaders have spent 20 years putting IT in a corner, with apologies to Dirty Dancing, the movie. Look it up if you're too young to be familiar with the line, "Don't put baby in a corner." Nobody puts baby in a corner, actually. But what had happened was back in the dot-com bust, in the dot-com boom, IT really came into itself as a discipline. Technologists were deploying all this really wonderful cutting edge technology, whether it was client server or internet connectivity or desktop machines everywhere in the company. Amazing things were happening. People could put up websites and tell the world about what they were doing. They could actually sell stuff online. You had like Amazon and really innovative companies like that even before Google, in fact. And this was all happening. And then we had the dot com crash. And what happened was the rise of the CIO, and the CIO became powerful because he, or less likely she, said, hey, I can I can cut back all that crazy spending that we're doing on technology to only the important stuff, but you have to give me the power to run technology. So from that day to this, which is literally over 20 years, almost 25 years now, IT has been all about cutting costs, and the CIO's job has been to cut back, do more with less, do more with less, become lean, mean, and efficient to the point where all the people who actually understand technology and the business benefits it generates were stuck in a corner told to cut costs. Fast forward to about 10 years ago, when all of a sudden companies were looking around and saying, holy cow, we can't keep doing business the same old way because these companies like Google and Amazon and Twitter and Facebook are all doing things so much different and so much better than we are. And we've got to learn how to do that. Well, who did they ask? Not the IT people who were like, we could help. No, 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 no. That would be too easy. Nah, they went in and imported senior executives from quote unquote tech companies out in Silicon Valley and said, "Hey, eBay and the like, hey, Twitter, can you guys come and help us transform our companies with this new digital technology?" Never mind the fact that digital technology's been around since 1948 and the invention of the transistor, but never mind that. Okay. So they started bringing all these digital technologists in who started to try to build out how digital transformation could transform the company. And meanwhile, the IT guys are going, I could have told you that if you didn't make me spend 27 hours out of every day making your SAP implementation slightly more efficient." All right. Enough of the rant. Hopefully by now you've read the pillars and you're thinking, all right, these are buzzwords. Where's she going with this? So here we go. And Alexander, if you're watching this, now is a great time to pour yourself that glass of wine and cut yourself that slice of cake. First off, first pillar, data has value. What is it that is creating a major transformation in organizations? That one of the first things is people realizing that we have the ability to capture an enormous amount of data, and that the value of that data, if it is trustworthy and fresh, is actually greater than almost every product or service we could deliver based on that data. So for example, if you make tires, you may give away those tires. We'll talk about the strategic use of free in a second, or charge very little less, very little for them, relatively speaking, but charge your customers an arm and a leg to give them the information about how they're using those tires, where they're wearing, what the traffic patterns and logistics are, particularly for large fleets. Or if you're selling tractors, you can be gathering and using the data from those tractors and selling that to other folks who may be using that data. So a key pillar of this concept of digital transformation is the notion that the data itself has value, that we're moving from a world that's based on just products and services, that is now based on products, services, and data. You've heard people say things like data is the new oil. It's a little catchy and a little, a little bit hype, but it's very, very real. One of the things that technology across the board has enabled is the ability to capture so much data that the data itself has value. So, am I going to sit here and tell you that you need to roll out IoT in your organization because data has value, or that you need to create an app because everybody and his brother needs an app on your phone? No. I am telling you what you want to do as a technology person who is gearing up to take his place or her place at the table and not leave it all to the quote unquote digital transformation experts. What you want to do is ask yourself, what data are we collecting or could we be collecting that could have more value even than our products and services do? So that's really one of the key takeaways. If you want to move your own role as a technologist into this digital transformation role, you really want to be asking yourself, what data are we collecting? And by the way, don't ask once. That's another key point that I'll stress throughout this. This is an ongoing cycle. Second point, as so many of the dot-com companies that have now become the, digital native companies, we call them dinos, digital native companies, have shown us, we're moving towards a subscription economy. The idea is you don't have to have startup costs for anything. You don't have to have capital expenses for anything. You should be able to do everything you want on a month by month basis. Now, there's some issues with that, and as people are finding out with cloud, it's not always the least expensive way to go. But it does mean that you can actually lower the barrier to entry And when it comes to your customers, for example, it's much, much easier to get somebody to pay $1,000 a month than to write you a check for $12,000. So the move is from things that weren't previously delivered by subscription, such as, for example, a jet engine. Think about that. You would subscribe to the use of the jet engine and all its associated upgrades, which we'll talk about shortly, and its maintenance and support, rather than just buying a jet engine. You get it installed, you use it, and you get billed on that monthly basis. So, if you're still thinking about selling products, particularly big ticket products, you really want to cloudify those products and services and think in terms of everything as a service. So, again, as a technologist, possibly somebody who started in IT, you want to be stepping back and asking yourself, okay, what are we selling and can we sell it as a service, even if it sounds goofy and wacky? Well, we sell houses. Well, can we build houses? Can we have a building a house service? Actually, yes, there are companies that do things like this. So that's the second pillar. Third pillar, I've referred to this, the strategic use of free. One of the things that's happened with digital transformation is things we used to pay a lot of money for are now free. In fact, Google's entire business model is give stuff away for free. And you're listening to me going, Johna, you don't understand. Google is has one of the largest market capitalizations of any company out there, and they make tons and tons of money. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But think about it. They give us stuff free, us being the eyeballs. Their business model is to sell eyeballs to advertisers. It works great if you're constantly giving out new free stuff to get the eyeballs, because our eyeballs will go to Google preferentially over practically anywhere else because they have such cool stuff. Google Maps and Google Satellite and Google Search and whatever your favorite Google whatever is. Me, I don't think I could live without Google Satellite. I spend days looking at things at the level of granularity that Google gives me. And they have my eyeballs and they know where I'm coming from and they know what I'm looking for and they can sell that to advertisers who pop up in all sorts of feeds after that. I have a bullet item here that on Kodak's major mistake, and this really breaks my heart because Kodak is an upstate New York company, or was, and they were a huge innovator in so many ways, but they made one not stupid, one very intelligent mistake that was perfectly logical, which is they realized digital film was coming. They realized that cameras were going to be absolutely transformed, and they said, "We've got it. We're going to sell our customers storage for all their photos. We're going to sell them the photos online." They had everything right. They even had the subscription model. They had the cloud idea even before cloud was cloud. What they got wrong was that they were going to be undercut by people like Google Photos who were like, "Oh, I need your eyeballs so you can store gigabytes of photos so I can get your eyeballs." That's exactly what happened. So instead of giving it away for free, they charged for it and they lost to the people who were giving it away for free. So the takeaway here is if you want to transform yourself from a technologist to a digital transformation expert, think long and hard about what you currently charge for and who might be wanting to give that away for free. And if there's something you can give away for free that can undercut somebody else, like your top competition, to double down on the areas where you're going to get revenue. So again, if you're Google, it doesn't matter how many things you give away for free. It doesn't matter how many high-priced engineers you keep dreaming up wonderful things to get our eyeballs, as long as you can charge top dollar to your advertisers for those eyeballs. Fourth, I think we are on is the value of customers. Now, everybody watching this is going to say, we value our customers. Heck, it's Valentine's Day. We love our customers, right? Um, but I'm not talking about that kind of value. I'm talking about looking at your customers with a cold-blooded eye of, well, what can you do for me? So, for example, you can have your customers take over a lot of functions that you used to have to pay for. One of my favorite examples here is a software company that cut its customer support to zero from $1 million a year because it was paying for a contact center to answer questions. And it suddenly realized if it could just set up a game board and gamify the process of customers helping other customers, the customers would do it for free because the customers loved the idea of hopping on, showing off their expertise, and getting points towards a ribbon or something that said they were a wizard of insight in their product. And that's the kind of thing you can think about where your customers actually can do all sorts of things. We'll talk about this in just a second when we talk about crowdsourcing. They'll do things like create your content for you, support your other customers for you, come up with your new products for you. Gosh, you could actually set up a company that didn't spend a dime on customer support, didn't spend a dime on content generation, and didn't spend a dime on new product generation if you had the right framework for it. You just give them the framework and walk away. And in many respects, that's kind of the Airbnb and the Uber model. There's other aspects to that that I'm not going to get into today, but essentially they said, "Hey, there's people out there that that want to take other people for rides or rent them apartments, and people that wish to take rides or rent apartments, and we're just going to connect the two and take a cut off the top." Brilliant digital transformation model. You should think about that. Everybody gets so attached to the products and services they sell, but if your customers can generate them for you and you can just connect your customers with each other, woohoo! There you go. You've digitally transformed yourself. As I mentioned, crowdsourcing. This is Twitter and Facebook's entire business model. Just like Google, they sell eyeballs to advertisers, but they go the extra step. Google has to spend all this time and money and have these talented engineers create this cool content like Google Satellite, and Twitter and Facebook are like, "Nah, our customers, our users will create the content." So we just sit here and sell eyeballs to advertisers, and we let people post whatever the hell is going to drive the eyeballs within broad limits, as we're seeing today. But that's their entire model, that people crowdsource the content. And that's the other piece. It's not just one person, but both Twitter and Facebook and anyone else who's using crowdsourced content relies on the ability of customers or users to piggyback onto each other. So it's not so interesting that Johna posts a comment or posts a blog post or posts a post on Twitter or Facebook. What's interesting is the 57 million people that respond to it and argue with each other. That's interesting. Or look at ChatGPT. They give away the AI and the users crowdsource the data to train it. What a win for them. It's like, hey, we need our AI to be trained, so we'll make it available to 8 billion people and see what they can do. So once again, you should start asking, what can users, not just customers, but including customers, be crowdsourcing for you? Because keep in mind, I'm not a ChatGPT customer. I just went on their freeware and used it. I'm not a Facebook customer. I'm just on their site. I'm not a Twitter customer. I'm not really even a Twitter user. But the point is, we are not the revenue streams for Twitter or Facebook, or even at this point, OpenAI. We're just users helping to develop their product. Speaking of which, there's the API economy, the whole notion of being connected to something else. So another way to look at this is it's not what you can do on your own, it's what you're connected to. Can you integrate with other products and services in an ecosystem? And I have here something trivial, hotels and caterers and wedding planners, but the idea is you should be able to come into the ecosystem from any point and get connected to everything you need for a complete solution. Which means that you as a customer should be able to get everything you need for a complete solution. You as a provider should focus, as they teach you in business school, they focus on the area that you can deliver the greatest value, but you should also be able to easily loop in all the other adjacencies so that the users, the customers, will get their entire need met, even if you can only meet part of that need. So the takeaway here is to look for your product and service adjacencies and make it super easy to integrate with them. So you hit the hotel because you're going to be planning a wedding, and guess what? There's a lineup of wedding planners. And oh, by the way, this is where, AI can really be helpful because they can figure out in a matter of seconds what you're trying to do. If you want to pick a hotel for, a large party in May or June, and you need to hold an event there, and it's going to involve food and, hey, here's ministers and here's wedding planners, that kind of thing. So you get the idea. There's an API economy. The other another I believe this is not quite the last of the pillars, but another pillar is this concept of extreme personalization. We've all been able to figure out that pretty much anything will greet us by name. Go jump on Amazon's, "Hi, Jonna, welcome back. By the way, we were shopping for you while you were asleep. Here's some things we thought you'd need." Now, Amazon really needs to up its game because it's always offering me things I already bought. And I always want to go, "Guys, I already bought it." But nonetheless, it's kind of nice to know that it's taking care of me and looking out for me and understands my unique needs compared to anyone else's. Well, okay, it's kind of creepy, but that's the nature of things. Um, And that's what customers expect at this point. So every offering should not only automatically customize itself to you, but have knobs to personalize it. For example, speaking of creepy, I really hate the fact that every time I look for news on Google, Google wants to complain about the fact that I'm not allowing it to personalize. No, I don't want you to personalize. I don't want you to feed me news that you think I'm interested in. Feed me news you think I'm not interested in. Then I might learn something. That's another rant. So, the takeaway is how can you take something and really customize or personalize it? How can you make it flexible that way? Obviously, if you're selling jeans, the answer might be one thing. If you're selling houses, it's another. If you're selling some form of professional services, it's yet a third. But you should be thinking in terms of extreme personalization. Remember, I talked about the subscription economy? A corollary to that is this notion of continuous delivery. Things continue. Well, ChatGPT isn't actually ChatGPT Plus. You have to pay 20 bucks a month for that. But features continue to upgrade automatically. Slack, which is owned by Salesforce, is constantly giving you feature upgrades that it tend to cause you to trip over your own feet when you're trying to do something because what you did before doesn't work anymore. And do I sound like a curmudgeon? Yes, because I am one. That said, it is important to simply to view innovation as part of your product development. It used to be a huge big deal to go from version 1.2 to version 1.3. The only company that still does that, to my mind, is Microsoft, and they're always behind the times. Sorry, Microsoft, but you are. But every other company has moved to this model of we've got a regular cadence of upgrades and tweaks and improvements. Sometimes we stumble, sometimes we introduce bugs and have to go fix them, and sometimes, God forbid, we introduce security breaches, but on the whole, the product continues to get better and better. And ideally, we're integrating this in with the crowdsourcing so that we can see what customers want and the value of the customers so that we can do things like, hey, what features are customers using in combination that maybe we could make easier to have a single button. So if you're still thinking in terms of having regular upgrades to your product, this is oh, Apple is another one of them, I will say. Apple and Microsoft are both kind of caught in the past in this. And that's partly because of marketing, because they want to do a big dog and pony show whenever they upgrade. But realistically, you should be doing a regular upgrade that happens on a regular cadence. And if you are scheduling, there had better be a really good reason. And that's what made me think of Apple, because Apple is really cannily playing the marketing game of we turn our iPhone announcements into mega events and publicity. So that's why we're doing it. And that's a good enough reason for them. It may not be a good enough reason for you. So I'll stop and take a nice deep breath. I've thrown a lot at you. So what does any of this have to do with technology like cloud and AI? Because everybody talks about how digital transformation is using cutting edge technology. I'll give you a hint. Nothing. Nothing and everything. The key thing is digital transformation is about thinking about your organization differently according to these 8 pillars. So instead of sitting here and saying digital transformation is about the judicious application of AI to customer experience, which sounds great and is BS, you should be thinking about the fact that digital transformation is shifting the model of I sell a thing to a user for a one-time purchase, and he or she gives me money and walks away with their thing, to creating an ongoing experience with regular upgrades, continuous delivery of upgrades, extreme personalization, so that thing is adapted to the person that bought it, with development and support and other functions delivered by your other customers, quite possibly on a subscription basis. That's digital transformation. And whatever technologies are rolling down the pike can help you get there. And with that, various technologies, another way to say that is various technologies in combination have made the 8 pillars possible. The problem is getting all the way back. If you're an enterprise architect, you can't simply say, well, our digital transformation is going to start in October 1st, 2020 and conclude on July 31st, 2024. That is our digital transformation, and it will use AI, and it will use cloud, and it will use IoT. Nope. You have to have an ongoing process of continually looking forward to emerging technologies and saying, "Hey, Is there something I can start giving away for free because the cost of delivering it has dropped so low that I can get this greater value and undercut my competitors by giving this thing for free and getting something else? Um, Case in point, Chat GPT and the Microsoft versus Google thing. Google has been sitting pretty because it was selling eyeballs to advertisers by having the world's premier search engine. Now, if you're going to go ask GPT this, which is now Microsoft, what happens to Google's entire empire? So they have to constantly be looking forward and evaluating these emerging technologies to see how their strategies need to adapt. So basically, digital transformation is not a once and done. It's not something you get completed. It's actually a entirely revised way of doing business for which you can use the 8 pillars as a framework to constantly look at your own business and ask yourself things like, are there things we should be giving away for free that we aren't? How are we using our customers? Can we use them better? And so forth and so on. And just remember, digital transformation is what IT would have been if it didn't report to the CFO. So maybe in your organization, if the CIO is still reporting to the CFO, now might be a good time to get a new CIO and have him or her report to the CEO to talk about digital transformation, because digital transformation belongs within IT, because all of these technologies are exactly that. They're information technologies that require infrastructure to function well, that require a detailed knowledge of the business and the industry, and guess who has all that? That would be my friends in IT. So, with that, thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope I've gotten you to think about digital transformation and its associated technologies a new way. And before I hop, let me remind you one more time, please do check in with us on Mastering the Metaverse, a framework, which is next Wednesday, February 22nd at 11 a.m. Eastern. Improving cybersecurity via cyber wargaming, which is next month, Tuesday, the 22nd at 11. The links are all in the attachment. And please do remember to check out So Long Stock Provider, which was recorded last week and now available to watch. And if you are an enterprise IT professional, a technologist, please join our private online community. Go hit nemertes.com, fill out the form that says community, and you would be welcomed in and see all the wonderful, fun discussions we have about digital transformation and lots of associated areas within our private community. This replay should be showing up on our channel shortly. If you found it valuable, please share it with your friends, neighbors, mother-in-law, kids, see what happens, and take a moment to rate the webinar. Thanks very much for joining us today, and I look forward to having you again with us soon. Bye.